Cozy, you want to do the Premia intro, and then Jeff, you want to introduce yourself after that, and then we'll get into a little bit of
Sure.
what Greeks Live is, what Premia is, the current U.S. banking crisis, a little macro, the current vol regime, and the future of the crypto option space.
Cool. So Marty gave you a quick synopsis, but we'll just start off and thank everyone for joining us. We do these every other week with Marty. My name's Cozy. I handle BD and partnerships over at Premia. Aside from me on the Premia side, we have DK and Magix joining us. DK, Magix, you want to say hello?
Hey, yep, like Cozy said, I cover ops and legal at Premia, your favorite DeFi options protocol. But today, in case you're listening after the fact, it is May 3rd at around 1 or 12 o'clock UTC. And today is supposedly what the prediction markets are showcasing. Probably the last FOMC rate hike of 25 bips of the year, whereas outside of that, whether or not there are any rate declines or if it stays stable or what kind of happens throughout the rest of the year is kind of up in the air. But we'll get that the May meeting is going to be in the books later today, 2 o'clock Eastern. Magix, you're up.
Hey guys, Magic's here. I'm the head of finance at Premia. I think I've met a couple of you guys already, but my previous background is in investment banking, specifically public company M&A. So, happy to be here and chime in where I can.
Nice. And Jeff, you want to give yourself a little intro in Greek Live?
Sure. Hello, everyone. This is Jeff from Greeks Live. So very nice to talk to you. So we are option tool providers. Also, we have many active option trading communities for newcomers to come to know options. As you know, option is difficult to learn, but we try to make it easier for everyone. So thank you, Marty. Thank you, Premia, for this chance to talk to all you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you making some time on your schedule to hop on and join the spaces with us.
Thank you, Cozy.
Yeah, Jeff and I have been doing some stuff for Greeks Live, just not a shill, right? But we use them personally for our fund. They have a pretty easy auto hedge feature that is pretty nice for retail traders trying to turn into pro-tail, right? You have a lot of people that always message me, oh, how do you hedge? How do you... And guys, a hedge is not buying ETH and shorting Bitcoin, right? Especially in the option space. You're always trying to balance your deltas, and you're buying and selling perps usually to keep your deltas at zero or as close to zero as possible. So it's a good tool for somebody trying to go into retail into pro-tail, which is just a smart version of a retail trader, not an institutional size, but a little bit bigger.
Right. Actually, for institutions, I think they will just passing up all the features they need. So they have the manpower to do that. And for retails, they don't have the luxury, so we can provide this kind of infrastructure for them to become a smart trader.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Your block trade, pretty impressive execution and speed.
Yeah. So because in the past 3 years, there's no other block trade provider other than Paradigm, but somehow we managed to find a niche that we can find some unique trade flows, and we managed to find some makers to fill this trade, to quote for these trade flows effectively. So from October last year, it's been 7 months. We have consistently these block trade flows keep on going, although it's not much. So monthly volume, I think, for block trade is just 200 million for last 2 months. Every month, 200 million. But anyhow, the trend is going up. So, and we view that as a way to provide person-to-person customer service to those high net worth clients. Yeah, so it's actually this makes sense for them because those makers, when they quote on the screen, they tend to quote in a bigger spread, and the size they give is a kind of limited. They know there is a smart money option market, so they're refraining from providing maximum liquidity they can in each attempt. So whenever a client said he need to fill a larger order, it makes sense for them to inquire those makers individually, and we are helping them on that. So yeah, they can fill these orders with smaller spread and a bigger size. Yeah, so it works pretty well so far.
Jeff, why do you think these makers aren't putting full liquidity on book? Is it because they get better rates through you or less fees? Or, why aren't they quoting 1,000
Yeah,
Bitcoin order on, on book?
because if they check, if they talk to the takers individually, even through broker like us, so they can figure it out whether or not this trader has any kind of insider information. Last time we talked on our AMA that we have seen a lot of cases that actually in crypto option market, there are a person with insider information. They know there will be a large dump of spot will happen soon, and they purchase puts in maybe 1 hour in advance. So, but if the maker they keep on providing larger liquidity on screen on the book, so actually when they absorb all these order flows, there will be lack of time to hedge that. So for Delta, it's easy. You just use perpetual futures. But if you need to hedge Gamma and Vega, you need time. Actually, you need some time to shift out all these exposures, be it on the book or to ask other makers to take that. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
think
you have
I
a
have been
you
talking
have a
to
weird
some makers.
Oh, sorry. No, I
So
think you ended
yeah,
there and it cut off. But no, it's pretty interesting because for people who don't know the option space or are new to the option space, there's these platforms like Greek Live or other various platforms that kind of act like an old school trading desk that you kind of have to call the broker and place an order. And it's nice to have that personal touch, or you keep in contact with individual desks. But it's actually a pretty big market off book than you see
yes,
on Deribit or other exchanges.
indeed. Yeah, I think the phenomenon you speak of like other markets, also over-the-counter markets that not cleared on the exchange, but cleared by those individuals and institutions. This market size is growing fastly. And I think sometimes it's for altcoins. Yeah.
Do you
As we
offer
know
this
in
product to retail, Jeff, the block order? Because I know, OTC desks normally you need an ISDA to close directly with them, but if you close on off book, let's say through Greeks Live or through a Paradigm with a specific maker, you don't need an ISDA. Do you guys offer this one to retail?
not yet. So we haven't find out the efficient way to do that yet. But maybe in the future, yeah. I think there need to be some kind of a wallet service, because if you are trading directly with a maker without the help of exchange, then still there is someone there to do the custody and clearance. Yeah. So, but we don't have that infrastructure yet. Yeah. So not yet.
Yeah, are you guys interested in building something out like that? Because I know people message me,
Yeah,
oh, I want to buy uh, a spread, or I want to put on a four-leg option, a butterfly, or a condor, and they're stuck sitting there on book, and maybe they have size, right? But they're sitting there on book, and they're trying to piece together this four-legged option. And when you
yes,
do this at
yes,
time, right? Quotes move, price moves. You did your
yes.
math and you
You
just
have
don't
lag
get
risk.
executed. Yeah,
Yes,
executed.
yeah, yeah. You can, maybe you only feel a part of it, and the other exposure is still waiting for a few. Yes, actually, we are thinking along this line. We are thinking that maybe we will dedicate a part of our own money. So as a company, we have some money ourselves. So we may try to provide some liquidity for the combo sector. So as you know, in one of the centralized exchange, they have a combo feature, but there is no one providing liquidity there. So what we think is that in the coming 1 or 2 months, maybe we will act as maker to try to provide liquidity there. Then we will also sell ideas to our potential takers that if you trade combos and like butterfly or condo, that you can actually achieve. Actually, there is some institutions that selling structured products, but the payoff is very similar to condo and butterfly, but they're taking a fee, and it's a very heavy fee. So we are trying to pitch to those potential clients that actually you do not need to purchase those structured products and paying those kind of high fees. You can actually just trade these combos directly on your account, and we can provide liquidity to you and paying some spread. It's a client paying some reasonable spread, and we make the fill, and they will have the payoff by holding it on until expiry, and we earn the fee, earn the spread. So this is what we are thinking. So we have the market making ability. We also have the client channels. We have the sales person like me to sell these ideas. So I'm thinking that maybe this idea can fulfill, can grow some business from that. So that's just what I'm thinking and what we're trying to do for the next 2 months. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy to be in the vol space since post FTX crash. For somebody who's just listening in, FTX crashed and vol spiked insanely. I think ETH was in like, I don't know, 130, 140 at the peak, maybe even a little higher.
Yeah.
And now it's just basically been down and to the right, right? And that's okay for option sellers because price is a little more stable, but you get a little less premium, right? You don't make as much money per contract, but maybe it's easier, a little slower game versus when it's full risk on vol straight up and to the right. Um, what do you think about this week? We have today, we have non-farm payroll on Friday, and we have CPI next week. And currently, vol's around in the mid 50s, which I think is normal,
Yeah,
for
it's
this kind.
normal.
Yeah, for
The
this
new
kind of week.
normal for cryptos. Yes. So I think recently, yeah, it's reasonable that crypto market reacts to these macro events because when crypto space grow bigger, it becomes clear that it's a money-driven market. So when the monetary base is loose, so crypto goes up, and when the monetary base shrinks, crypto goes down. So yeah, so it's becoming important that macro events is affecting crypto space more and more. And I think for option sellers, if you're option seller trying to get a yield, uh, it is advisable that you wait until the macro event to happen. the times of volatility, the implied volatility becomes highest will be just before the event begin. And after the event, usually the implied volatility will just crash and heavily crash, maybe from 55 to 50, something like that. And if you are a volatility buyer, maybe you can buy 1 day before the event. Actually, Amber Data has done an interesting study that they made statistics that supposedly you as a trader, you buy straddle just 1 day before some macro events, and they traced like 9 times the format meeting. The return is impressive. Actually, the winning rate is very high, and the return itself is quite okay. And yeah, you buy options before the event, and you close those options upon the event. So although the sample is very limited, just 9 examples, but the result is impressively high, and the return is positive. So yeah, I think macro events are definitely some trading opportunities for volatility traders. Yes.
Yeah, one interesting strategy that I didn't buy the day before, right? But on Monday on Open, US Open, I would buy the straddle and I would sell on the Wednesday or the Friday, depending on whatever event it was that I was playing. And most of the times it was actually a winning trade. There was sometimes I got
Yeah.
stuck or I didn't sell at the right time, so you got crushed and price went down. But yeah, overall that is a pretty good strategy. I'll try to find the link to the Amber Data one and we'll post it in the phone just fell. And I'll post it in the comments below this for somebody who's just listening in later.
Okay.
And what do you think about all these banking crises? I know he's a speaker now. Tolga, you want to come up and talk some banking crisis? I thought it was over. You told Froggy and I a month ago that it was over, that it was contained.
Well, good morning. I figured I was just going to listen in on you guys. You guys are having a good conversation. Enjoying my cup of coffee here. I don't know how much I have to say. I don't think I have enough knowledge to be able to start saying what these balance sheets look like and how much contagion there probably is or could be. So I think for this week, it's probably going to be limited in terms of like feedback I can give relative to that.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that we had Silicon Valley Bank, and of course, everybody goes on television and says, "Oh, it's over, it's done, that was it." FDIC came in, and the contagion is stopped. But when the Fed hikes from essentially 0% to mid 5% in a short period of time, that affects everybody, but especially these banks that loaned out billions of dollars at near zero, right? Super low rate. Moving forward, though, I think like everybody's focused on like commercial real estate, and I think that one's obviously the slowest one. But I read something the other week. It was or podcast or something. San Francisco specifically, I'm from California originally, and San Francisco specifically is like 30-40% vacancy in the downtown area, which last time I was there, it was like the night of the Walking Dead, so it makes sense. But the building that just sold, or one of the buildings that just sold, was valued at 300 million bucks, and now it just sold for 10% of that, 30-40 million. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's necessarily over. And today you have 25 bips, and then, as DK mentioned, probably a pause. I don't think we go right into cutting rates. I don't think it's necessarily over. I think the Fed deals with delayed data, right? Slow data. It's interesting that we make all these decisions on old data, not necessarily real time data. And yeah, I think we have a weird summer because all the NYC guys are going to go to the Hamptons, selling may go away, and I think this thing's just going to keep steamrolling through the summer of just random
Marty,
events.
question for you. So this kind of ties into the FOMC meeting and just interest rates in general. Um, I mean, everyone's got like a thought or an opinion on this because we're between a rock and a hard place. But how do you see this sort of playing out? Because when you mention commercial real estate, everything's very sensitive to interest rates, and that just is another vehicle that's sort of in the interest rate steamroller, right? And so uh, at this point, it seems like from what I'm seeing that we're sort of at max interest rate hike capacity without breaking something else again. I think there's a lot of things that are sort of teetering. So if there's another set of rate hikes that have to happen, uh, you have to sacrifice something. Something's going to die, right? And I'm just curious if where you or anyone else on that on the panel is thinking of defend inflation at all costs and let things fail, or be okay with moderate inflation to save certain elements of the economy. Just curious how everyone sees that.
Yeah, no, we could just go around the horn, I guess. I think that if you just keep hiking rates, the there was a fact like that interest rates never, oh, I forget exactly what it is, but basically interest rates basically have to go over 5% when inflation is over 5%, right? Interest rates have always gone over the inflation number when inflation's over 5%. We're pretty much there, right? This should be the pause. I think that we sit and wait, and I think maybe we have a prolonged, more sticky inflation situation than they're telling you on the TV, right? Or the main media sites, mainstream media. That's my view. I don't think you can just have everything come crashing down and then next year try to have an election and oh my God, everything's fixed within the next, what is it? It's already April, right? The next year and a half. Like, I think we just are sticky into 2024 with some cuts, of course, and things like that. But hopefully we don't have to if we start cuts, hopefully we don't have to start hiking again because if that happens, I think all trust is lost into the election.
I'll go next. Yeah, I think from a rates perspective, things kind of calm down. I think that the next big major headline for at least this next month is going to be debt ceiling in the U.S. Um, and then once that is nothing burger, knock on wood, then it's probably calms. Like I can't see anything too crazy happening going into an election year. And by November of this year, based in the U.S., is usually the election circuit is fully ramped up, and like no one wants anything crazy to go on. It usually gets like it'll be quite a doldrum, I think. But in terms of inflation, I think inflation will still probably increase. I don't think they're going to hike rates though. That's my thoughts, anyways.
Yeah, I think one more 25 bips raise, then they stop and they don't raise, but they don't cut for a couple months. And then they probably start to cut maybe at the end of the year. But I don't know, kind of conversely to what you said, I think Arthur Hayes is pretty set on a lot of these. We haven't even started yet. He's playing the game of shorting all these smaller regional banks. Kind of been interesting to watch what he's been doing.
Yeah, go look at the charts for any of those regional banks. They're already all down like 50%, right? It's already been not priced in essentially, right? But some of them can go to zero for sure. or get bought out or bailout, whatever you want to call it. Sure, and I don't think that the problem's necessarily over yet, but a lot of those stocks are already hammered. If you're just trying to follow haze blindly, yeah, you're gambling at that point, right? We talked, I don't know, a month and a half ago. Tolga, Froggy, and I, we were on. I was out in Paris, and that was like the first one. That was a Silicon Valley Bank. Well, that would have been the time to position, a quarter out, a month out, whatever, and watched, all these regional banks collapse, and you're making money, which, somebody has to lose money for us to make money. So, it's not good to bet on the demise of other people, but sometimes that's how it works. And it's just been interesting to follow. I personally haven't played any of these short or bought any puts or sold any calls or anything. Just been interesting to watch stuff go down 20% in an hour.
Where was Gary to protect us from our FDIC?
I tried to call him.
But
He just hung up. Ugh, yeah. And we always talk about that, right? We always go into personal views of the crypto market and stuff. But yeah, I think the whole SEC thing, they're just playing a lame game for sure. Jeff,
Regarding the SEC stuff, so like the founder Masari put together that like $100 million lobbying fund. You started to see like them shred Gensler, and since they shredded Gensler, he's pretty much been quiet in that Senate hearing. I could see that like in Coinbase and Gemini doing their perp markets and showcasing it. It's just as much as a showcase towards this is not for U.S. consumers because of this, and this, as like a marketing stunt, just as much as it's actually like opening those markets. So I could see the SEC slowing down because they're probably getting pressure, definitely from the Republican side. And again, like I said, I think going into November, like that shit will calm down because you don't want to be picking sides against Republican versus Democrat going into an election year. So,
yeah, I probably sound like a broken record, right? I say the same thing every space. It's like the SEC overstepped their ranks. They were just doing enforcement by sending letters and suing people, and like come out with some clear-cut rules and let people follow them or don't follow them, and this is okay and this is not okay, but you have to come out and publicly announce this and have it readily available for every lawyer to read, for every team, for every company, and it's just nonsense for it to just to been going on so long. So many random people got sued and put in jail and totally overstepped, right? I think people are going offshore or have already gone offshore or are in the works, like the Gemini and the Coinbase going offshore and doing their perps market. And that will only continue to grow as the U.S. pushes people off, or pushes people offshore, I should say. And what do we think about what do we have on the docket? The future of the crypto option space. Oh, I think it kind of ties into what DK said going into the whole election. I think you just have mild vol, and I think it's going to take time to have vol come back. And I think the biggest event that we have in the foreseeable future is the halvening, which basically just simply creates a supply crisis in Bitcoin, which historically has risen the price. That's like the only major event on my radar, right? We had the Chappelle upgrade, and you saw just vol just not care and just go off the cliff, right? The vol event was the event, and that was the peak, and it's been down ever since. It's been pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the volatility will come back as there is statistically there is a mean reversion of Bitcoin volatility. Actually, I myself has been tracking that data. Every month, the beginning of the month, I will take a look at TradingView. There is an indicator named historical volatility, and I can set the sample period at 30 days. So every beginning of the month, I will check the number of the last month. So I look it up, April, so it's 38.9 for Bitcoin. And I kept this record for 3 years. So the last 3 years, the average number is 65. So now the volatility is way below the average one. So I'm pretty sure that given some time, there will be some event and makes the volatility come back. Usually it will come back in a spike. That it will not just come back to 65, it maybe come to 80, something like that, then gradually come down. So the number April have historical volatility 38. Actually, it's the third lowest number in the last 12 months. So the other two is December, which is a Christmas and New Year. And it's only 28, very low volatility. Also, that's because after the FTX incident, the market get hurt deeply. So that's also another reason. And October is also very quiet with historical volatility only 31. So, but other months in last 12 months, usually it's more than 60 and sometimes it's 88. Yeah, so I'm not sure when the volatility will come back, but statistically, it always come back. Whenever people think that, okay, Bitcoin is now more mature and more institutional money comes in, so the mean rate of historical volatility of Bitcoin will come down. Every time people think about it, something happen and it come back quickly. Yeah, so that's just my observation.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I don't know if anybody read the QCP update, the one that they just tweeted, or not tweeted, telegrammed in their chat to telegram, it's not even a word, but put in their Telegram channel. And I thought it was interesting that they publicly came out and said that we're buyers here. Usually they don't outright say this. It was a little financial advicey.
Yeah.
But essentially, like the one-liner is for this week, then the next 7 days, you have 3 events. This should be the catalyst to push vol higher. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Make your own decision, of course. But I thought it was super interesting that they publicly came out and said that this was like a time to buy. And then in an interview, they said something completely different, that DYD or DYX shorts can get short squeezed, the dollar can get short squeezed, and that's bad for crypto. So two combating statements within a couple days from QCP. It's very interesting. QCP is a large crypto market maker in the Asia market, but they trade everything.
Now, curious what you guys think. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, I mean, QCP has been very, very active even in DeFi space, I think.
Yeah, they trade everything. And I don't know if you saw my last tweet the other day, they also use a lot of lotion. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I met a handful of them in Singapore.
Yeah.
Good guys.
Yeah, I talked to a few of the guys on the Twitter, the Telegram. I never met anybody from the team, though. Tolga, you're up.
So the vol thing is an interesting topic. We had touched on this, and I kind of half joking was this like a few weeks ago. We're talking about 20 vol ETH, and there's something to be said about mean reversionary properties of volatility that's always persistent and exist to some degree. But I do think from like a macro level, there's a lot of components that still show lower volatility. Now, I'm not trying to say that there couldn't be a intermittent spike here and there due to some event, but having like a regime shift where we go back to being a 100 volt product would require a structural catalyst in the marketplace that I don't know what it is, but it would have to happen in my viewpoint. it seems like every catalyst is more of a downward pressure on volatility catalyst, where you have major players leaving, retail is out, interest rates are higher, right? Which you guys alluded to. Easy money creates more active crypto markets, and we're not sort of in that market regime anymore. So with that, like, it's sort of just more of a balancing act of like the viewpoints. While the product is primed to be able to be a high volatility product, lower available float, institutional capital size versus what's actually available from a liquidity standpoint, right? Everything is there for it to be a high vol product. But from the macro environment still points to a lower vol scenario. So it's kind of an interesting situation there. And one of the other things too that you see a lot, and this happens in the DeFi space, is that options are more yield centric than they are volatility centric in DeFi, mainly because trading volatility is very difficult to do properly. And so there's a lot of like compression of volatility from that, just from the natural, there's just natural sellers of volatility in the DeFi space, which also then creates that compression as well. So I don't think everyone wants to see a 20 vol ETH, but it wouldn't surprise me if that did become a new norm for some period of time.
Yeah,
Marty,
I don't know.
That scares you.
Yeah, it scares me. No, I don't know if you read the last newsletter that I put out with Premia, I guess Monday. I even quoted you in there. I don't think I quoted you, but I threw the 20 volt. What are you going to do if ETH is a 20 volt product? Short answer, you're not going to trade it, right? You're going to go back and as a volatility trader, right? You're going to go back and trade where the volatility is, and you'll come back to crypto at a later point, right? Of course, some people will stay, but people are leaving, and if there's no access to banking and all this other stuff, it's going to be a very weird time and space for institutional players and funds leaving the U.S. and going offshore, going to Asia, to going to the Caribbean islands, going to Europe, Luxembourg, and places like this. To Dubai, even to place out their funds. It seems like we have a few big players, right? You have Genesis and you have QCP essentially, and Cumberland and some other people. But yeah, I mean, the retail trader is not sitting here trying to sell options and sell vol to turn zero point 0.1 ETH into 10,000 ETH, right? They're the ones buying the vol, keep trying to buy over and over. And I mean, it's just been down only, right? You might get lucky on one of these days, but the vault sellers are the ones picking up the pennies every day, and maybe they get steamrolled, once a quarter or something like this. But since November, it's just been down only. And I think with a little more compression, well, you'll get a bigger explosion. But for now, there's no, unless, the whole US is done, banking in the world is over, US is not the world reserve currency, like doomsday or shit. Doomsday or stuff tomorrow, if that happens tomorrow, I don't see a catalyst in the foreseeable future, especially going into election year. When US is like anti-crypto, right? When all the money flow is anti-crypto. We'll see. What do you think about that, Tolga?
So you're thinking like just a continued natural compression here, just as a status quo compression. Nothing's really going to imminently change. Maybe a isolated event here and there, but nothing from a regime shift standpoint, right?
Yeah, nothing super major. I mean, go look at what I looked yesterday, DVol, or for the newsletter. The peak was like the Chappelle upgrade, right? It was like DVol hit like 70 I don't know, 72 or 73. And it's just been, now we're down 20 points from there. We're at 50, 52, 53 today. If the U.S. comes out and says the right things, risk back on, coins go up, risk assets go up. The commercial real estate crisis is over, banking crisis is over, maybe, but that's not where we are today, right? We're like you said, we're just teeter tottering on what's next, and we're on a thin line here. I think if they came out and said, "Oh, we're hiking 50 basis points," it's over for everything, right? If they say, "Oh, we're cutting," which I don't think they are, um, shit would go flying. I think today we just have a 25 bips as expected. You get your normal Darth Maul, and then you'll get a trend continuation into the next meeting. Is usually what we've been seeing. Magics, you have any TradFi insight into vol and where it's going and why?
I wish I did. I'd be a rich man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Jeff is pretty much right. Like at some point it comes back, but it can always go lower, right? And if you keep trying to buy vol over and over and over again, you're better playing these events. And if you're trying to do it on a non-event week, I think as a vol buyer, you'll just be hammered every single time, or have been hammered every single time since FTX.
Yeah, actually, I have a question about Premia protocols. Thanks for the invitation to this interesting event. So I'm interested in which chain Premia is running on, and what kind of client base you will be targeting, and how the trading is facilitated. Is that also order book, option order book, or it's like AMM or other mechanism they are using?
Great questions. So currently Premia is multi-chain. We're on Ethereum mainnet, Arbitrum, Optimism, Phantom. With our V3, which is on the verge of coming out. I don't want to give any dates, but very soon. That will live on Arbitrum, and the order book will be hosted on Arbitrum Nova. So currently, Premia operates as a pool-to-peer with a pool-to-peer model and as an AMM. With V3, it will kind of have some competing pricing elements to where there will be an order book component, the AMM, as well as request for quote network as well. That will be a part of that. So there will be some things that I think we can chat about between Greeks Live and Premia on the side once we get to that point. But on the type of traders that we're trying to appeal to, I think it's the full spectrum, you could kind of say, because with the vaults and the AMM, you're going to see that's more for your traditional retail DeFi users, whereas the base layer exchange in V3 will offer something very similar to the experience people are used to on Uniswap V3, where users can come in, or underwriters can come in and decide ranges that they'd like to provide liquidity to or underwrite within. So if you only want to underwrite options between today and 3 Fridays from now, between the price of 18, I don't know what it is right now, but we'll say 1875 and 2000, you have that option to do that, to create that pool. And then, with the RFQ network, so that base layer, I think will attract more sophisticated, I don't want to say, there will be some pro market makers and funds, but also like your more sophisticated, you could say like pro-tail traders maybe. Whereas the RFQ network, I think will appeal more to market makers, funds, and people that are used to the traditional experiences from your centralized exchange our option avenues that we have in crypto at the moment.
Yeah, I understand.
Do we want to open it up
And
for? Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, recently I read the news that SEC is also trying to regulate DeFi space. They say DeFi is also stock exchange, if I'm remembering correct. So do you think this can pose a threat to the DeFi space, or is there any? Because for DeFi, I think things are tricky because protocol it's a protocol, and the user just addresses. So basically, it cannot be done KYC, and yeah. As a team, do you think there will be any anything you need to address on regarding this?
I can take that. Yeah, I mean the U.S. space is clearly still unknown. Right now, currently, we do not facilitate U.S. users, so they're geo-blocked on the front end. I mean, technically, you can do a KYC process in which that you whitelist addresses that can utilize your platform, but I think that is you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot and the head as a DeFi protocol, and it's kind of unneeded. However, we had previously thought we were able to provide the US user base some of our products in V3. However, the exchange layer itself is still one that we were going to reserve. We still plan on doing that, but if there's any sort of updates that would drive us away, we might have to revisit that. But right now, we currently plan on offering our vault products, which essentially is like a robo trader, like a robo advisor. To US based users because it's not going to be a traditional exchange derivative exchange experience. But yeah, it's something that we're constantly monitoring. We're constantly monitoring MiCA in Europe. We're constantly monitoring what the SEC is doing, what the current bills are within the US regulatory framework. But then also, like what you saw with Coinbase moving to to their primary jurisdiction for the options exchange being Bermuda. We've looked at Bermuda and the Bahamas in the past. And so, I mean, our regulatory, or excuse me, our legal entity framework right now, we think is still fit for purpose, but we're constantly reevaluating that. We are based offshore, and that's why we can offer some of these products. However, we do have to withhold geo blocking in the front end. Is that something that we are actively pursuing with both our legal partners to provide that to U.S. users in a safe and responsible way? Yes, it's constantly something that's in it's in our forefront of the way that we're tackling V3. But as it stands at launch, the exchange layer will not be provided to U.S., Canada, or UK users, as well as U.S. sanctioned countries.
Understand.
Or any other OFAC sanctioned country, right?
Correct.
Yeah, no, that's just pretty standard for the vol space. I was actually or the derivative space. It was actually pretty astounding to see Canada get blocked by everybody because usually it was Ontario specifically, and the rest was free market still able to, KYC on centralized exchanges. But now it seems that Canada has changed their regime, and nobody's allowed to have any fun on the derivatives side.
Well, it's kind of like the U.S. even with just spot assets. A lot of the non-custodial exchanges 5 years ago, they just blocked New York and Washington due to their bit license and strict laws, or like bit license like Washington has. But now all of them just completely block the U.S. They don't even want to take the chance.
It's a little interesting. I don't know how many US-based listeners there are here, but one thing that was new on tax forms this year And this is kind of funny. Literally, the first question on an IRS tax form out of all the forms you have, just after you put your name and social security number at the top, is have you dealt with, transacted in, or have any relationship to crypto whatsoever? I'm paraphrasing it, but it's just some question along those lines of basically, like, have you touched crypto at all this year? If you did, you need to check box yes. And I'm pretty sure there's like some sort of other disclaimer, like it's basically like a criminal act of like if you say no and you did, right? So I asked my accountant about that because I was like, this is a very odd question to be putting at the top of an IRS form. And she's like, well, you know what? 90% of people I'm dealing with checkbox yes. I told them it's mostly just like a survey-based thing, trying to get an understanding of how many people are involved. And at least from her standpoint, her small sample size, most people are just checking yes because they actually haven't been, they have been involved. But going to that, I asked her, she was discussing about, and this kind of ties into this regulatory issue in DeFi. If you can't do accounting properly, I don't know how you can regulate it. Just from the act that you have accounts that are numbered to how pools work and what asset you get back from pools has gotten more complicated. And so she was trying to do someone's taxes, and it got so convoluted that she basically just said, how much money did you start with at the beginning of the year and how much do you have now? Because the ability to understand all those little transactions that happen in between, which technically are taxable events, makes it almost impossible. And I'm not sure if anyone's ever used one of those tax accounting softwares, but those are also like nightmares. They don't really automate too much. You end up going in and having to tinker all the numbers and change things and reallocate and what this means or what that means, and then it still doesn't add up to what your actual P&L is. So from a regulatory standpoint, if they can't do that, I don't know how they regulate it. The avenue that I see that we had alluded to the other day too was stables are an entry point for regulation, and it's an easy control point. So if they allow USDC or some other stable to infuse into the DeFi space, they won't control the protocols, but they can control who uses USDC and how exactly that they can block certain addresses, right? They could blacklist actual protocols. I'm pretty sure they could do this so that no funds can actually transfer into a smart contract. So it's interesting to see how that would evolve, but until they even understand how to do the accounting properly, which I imagine it's probably going to take a few more years, I think it's just going to be this discovery period for a little bit of time and just basically attacking any sort of blatant scams first and then dealing with more like the proper process as a secondary step.
To piggyback on that, the head of the IRS was at Consensus. I wasn't there. I just saw the recap on it. And it seems to me that she is actually she takes a very different stance in the SEC in terms of being defensive and or even combative. She takes more of and this could be this could be the age old story of
The
trying to
IRS
trick us, but
psyops.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
exactly.
psyop.
Yeah,
But
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, like they are starting to work with different groups to make the accounting aspects more easily to understand and easily to implement, and then bringing that to tax law. They still think it's probably about 2 years away, but this 2023 year is a very much an exploratory year for them to see how different countries are doing it, in which they have a seat at the table there, but then also working with the industry of what's the best way to actually get compliance. Because I think that they're more looking for general compliance because they saw a lot of money leave the system and not come back. And so I think that from just making sure that those funds come back into the IRS system, I think they're just looking to make it easy. So it's easy on the users to click to send the money back.
Yeah, you say that, and then you hear that like the IRS is asking Kraken, and they're basically just throwing out the fishing line, right? Like, oh, we want this data and this data. Well, for what? Like, do you have a subpoena? Do you have a court order, basically? No. Okay, they're just fishing for data, which I think is lame. Nobody's figured it out yet, right? From the U.S. side, you have many places that have figured it out. I think, interestingly enough, Brazil, is going to be one of their next biggest markets. I'm always pro Brazil. Marty lives in Brazil, so that's nice. They essentially took the stance that as long as it's not a scam, and as long as you're not, money laundering or doing any sort of regular criminal activity, then it's totally okay, including DeFi, including derivatives. As long as you follow the old rules, then it stands the same. Bitcoin is this, Ethereum is this, commodity security. They already have this all sorted out. The exchanges and everybody has like 180 days to follow suit of the rules, and then another 180 days and so basically a year and they have 180 days to write the law and 180 days for everybody to implement it. So you have about a year until you have that full regulatory landscape for 230 million people, which I think is pretty nice.
Yeah, piggybacking on that, do you guys happen to see the comments from Ron DeSantis yesterday, saying like, yeah, if you come to Florida, then you can trade crypto if you want. Like, it's not any of our really business what you're doing. And then also on top of that, with like the CBDCs, he's like, yeah, it's going to be like a prohibition here. We will not allow any CBDC trading or anything like
Where
that.
was this? Sorry, I missed the first part. It cut out.
This was
DeSantis.
on Ron DeSantis, and it was reported, I'm sure, by like pretty much every media outlet, but I saw it on like Bitcoin News or something like that.
Yeah, I saw something last week that there's actually like 7 states that already have this in action. Like they already have this on the docket of prohibition of any CBDC or tracking central bank digital currency to be outlawed in their state. So I'm surprised that so many states at the local level are already so far ahead of this.
That's not a good
There's definitely
thing.
something going on here.
Yeah, that's not a good thing,
Yeah.
right? If the local states are ahead of it, yeah, that's not a good thing. I just don't think it's been solved yet, right? Nobody's figured it out how to do it. Nobody's done a huge experiment of a whole country of 300 million plus people to figure that one out. And what the IRS can just go look on chain and print, like it's copy your CSV and print. Yeah,
They went to school,
interesting.
right? Like print out a CVC and look at some data. You think?
Do you guys think it makes more sense, though, instead of actually creating a central bank digital currency, that they acquire stable coins? So you have a situation with USDC and Tether possibly to a point where they could sanction Tether so hard that they end up just taking it over. Or USDC, something tells me they're in a very close relationship.
I
Do
can
you think
see
it makes more sense to just acquire that?
Aren't they already in bed
well,
with USDC? Like, isn't that like, right? This is like a trial version, is how I see it. And they're just going to copy and paste the code,
exactly.
or they're just going to, acquire the team or whatever. I forget the bald guy's name, the CEO guy, but yeah, if they just acquire, I don't see why not, right? They're already so tight and in bed with USDC over Tether.
I mean, the only issue is that right now USDC is fully backed by dollars, and USDT, from the best of our knowledge, is fully backed by dollars, liquid collateral, commercial paper, stuff like this. Is that I could see like the Fed opening up some sort of facility with those guys to be able to print without having the actual collateral. Would be the only.
They could just build a degen box.
I don't know. Maybe we'll save the coin talk for the next one. What do you think? We can have a segment on it, and we can all hash it out.
Yeah, sure. That's a interesting topic. Yeah.
Yeah, Mim laid the playbook for him.
Yeah. No, that would be a super interesting topic. We can hash it out. We can talk about that for sure. I think KB's going to kill us. We're over our hour. We're getting taxed every minute.
It's okay, KB. You have coffee and vibes, right?
Coffee and vibes.
Any questions?
Talk to me.
Talk to us, baby.
Does anybody want to come up? Does anybody have any questions? I see Pool to Polly's in here. He took our not financial advice and bought some straddles, and he's already down on both positions. So shout out to Pool to Polly. Good luck on that play. Please keep us updated on your copy trading of Marty. All right, guys, I got to run. I'm out in Milano Italiano right now. I'm going to go to lunch.
Mr. Worldwide. Jeff, Marty,
Enjoy.
appreciate your time. Jeff, really appreciate you
No
joining
problem,
us.
Cozy.
Yeah. All righty, guys.
Everyone have a great in 2 weeks. Week.
Adios.
Ciao.
Have a good one.
Later.
Bye.
Okay, see you.